as you said, the game was a basic game, so it's easy to jump into. So these 10s and 20s, first of all, who's 11-year-old right now out here nagoing me? Who is that? Dude, that's what I'm trying to, you? That's crazy. What is going on, guys? We are back today. We're gonna go ahead and talk about this article that came out around September, but we just got it translated. Shout outs to Jiyuna himself. Jiyuna the god, the Steam champion. The Steam champion, my bad. But yeah, anyways, guys, we're gonna go ahead and talk about this article. This article is really important. Talks a lot about the season 2 changes, or the season 2 aspect that they're gonna have, and then what they're gonna do for the future of the game, and my take on it. And we're gonna talk about it. And make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and let me know how you guys feel about the video. Let's jump into the video right now. So, Jiyuna the GOAT. You see Jiyuna, right? You know, he's scheming something, bro. We don't know what he's scheming, but he's scheming something. Translated this. Interview talked about uncertainty over Strive's development and their plans for season 2 and beyond. Made a video summarizing as well if you hate reading. Well, I would say it's a new article for us, because it's been around for 2 months, I want to say. This happened in literally September 5th, never got translated until now. So this biggest thing that has been really been talked about a lot. They are very, very heavy on this aspect right here. Our strategy was to create a game with a simple image, but within that, hard work will be rewarded. I always say that it's very hard to try to make something that is like hard work rewarded when something is so simple. It's always going to be like a fiasco, especially because you got to change so many rule sets, especially foundations for fighting games nowadays. But that is their whole image, right? So that's what they've been trying their hardest to kind of like, you know, portray for the game. That's their game, and that's what they want to do. So I mean, you know, that's what they did. The company is looking towards the next generation, so there's a trend to make room for younger employees to take over. Even with GGST, we thought it was important to leave the development up to the next generation, so I was appointed to the new producer. The previous producer, Yamanaka, will now be acting as a brand manager for Guilty Gear franchise. That's crazy, because I remember when, who was that? Mori was stepped down as the brand manager, right? So I guess, you know what I mean? Ooh, I seen that before. Brand manager. You know, and then they're just talking about, you know, just the shift GGS title was developing for an overseas market from the start. Here we go. The reason why everybody likes it, literally, is because it is appeal to the Western audience. I think we all knew that. Even when we were hearing like stuff and leaks, one of the things that they said, it says we wanted to appeal more for the Western audience. I think they hit the nail on times of like appealing to the Western audience. But you know, I feel like there's a lot of meaning to like, you know, developing from a market from the start. You know, I could be wrong, but it feels like, you know, they also mean like, oh, you know, like playing video games casual, you know, things like that, which is why they made it more of a simple way of getting into the game. And you know, I don't know how to feel about that personally, you know, as a player. So I don't know if I'm like biased thinking about it, but you know, it's just something that I just think out, and I'm just like, you know, like I feel like there's a little bit more deeper meaning into things, right? I don't think it's no accident how it was worded and also how it was designed, you know? So it's pretty interesting in that regard. I joined the company in 2018, and before that, I was working in the non-gaming industry, so a fresh start for me, actually. I was a BlazBlue player before joining, not a top player or anything, but I just played the game quite often. That's cool. At least they didn't go up in there like saying like, yo, I'm an OG, dog. So now let's get to another part right here. GGST Season 1 has finished, and Season 2 just began. It's hard to really cut things up in part, but please share your thoughts on the first year of GGST and Season 1. From the game's announcement to its release, to even now, there's been no time for us to rest. Since we are producing season passes, the era of just releasing a game and being done with it is over. In order to satisfy our players, we have continued working hard even from now. I don't know if I fully agree with that. I don't know, man. At least have a full, nice product and then release it. I think this is a very scary way of thinking. A lot of it could really, like, you know, give somebody an inch and they could take a mile for it, you know? Well, my thing is, you gotta also think about this, bro, because when the last time did they made a Guilty Gear game or all the Arcsys game? When did they ever just cut support? That they have never done that. You get what I'm saying? They have never done that. So that's why I'm saying you gotta think, like, they never released a Guilty Gear game and then it's just like, all right, guys, see ya, peace. You know what I mean? Like, they never did that. That's what I'm saying. You really got to think about the stuff that they're that they're saying. You know, it's worded in a way where you're thinking like, oh, that means that they're just going to keep supporting the game. When did we ever play a game from Arcsys where they just, all right, we're going to release this game. I see you guys in 20 years. They haven't. This is scary. This is scary to me. It's because they never did this before. And so when I hear this wording, I'm thinking like, oh, so they're just going to release these games and then they're just going to give us like season passes of the game being at a certain level where like, you know, after the 4th year of the game, we got a full package. I am very concerned about that. And I really hope that people voice this because this is definitely concerning. And then also think about it like this, to even now there has been no time for us to rest. This is also something very concerning too. So that means that even if we wanted something nice, we wouldn't be able to get it because there's so much that they have to work on. So not only that they're going through like this formula, but they don't even have time to rest. Another 9 to 9. You know what I mean? That's a bit concerning for me. It seems like you have a lot of hardships to share. There was a lot, but I think in particular we had a lot of difficulty developing games for new players, how we reach a market and community we are not connected with, which is our biggest issue. So even though Strive was a big success, it was kind of like a lottery ticket because can we all agree that the visuals is absolutely fantastic? But if the visuals was this fantastic and this game came out literally 2 years before the pandemic or a year before the pandemic, do you think it would be as big as it is now? That's another question that you have to ask. So even though they wasn't really connected to the community and they really didn't have any like market ideas, one thing that actually carried them so far was literally the netcode. That's literally what made Strive the biggest fighting game that year. And the visual and the marketing strategy. Those 3 things literally was the biggest selling point, was you could play this game at home because we're in a pandemic. That was it. They got it at the right time. That's what I'm saying. It was perfect. Even with no connections, but they did it. Netcode and Vision were ace, and they still almost fumbled the bag with the lobbies and matchmaking. Well, the problem is, premise was everybody was so in a like honeymoon phase and desperate to like playing like the biggest game where all the top players are playing. People didn't really care about the flaws at that point, right? I mean, hell, the only game mode that you really have is online. You know, so like it's not like that was the thing, which is crazy to me that if that was literally the biggest thing that they only had, I'm surprised that it wasn't that great. It's crazy because, you know, this is like an uppercut that somebody will wake up and do, and they chose this option and they did it. I mean, drop it when the pandemic, perfect, no competition, no other games competing with it, boom, none. This is another thing that's really important too, that you can clearly see that whatever idea that they had that was usually their formula for all of their fighting games, they shifted that. And they prioritized what was fun for somebody who never played a fighting game before. I think that is the worst way to go in, rather than how can we keep people to keep trying our game, or how do we keep people to keep playing our game? And I think that is the question that they should be asking. And I'm telling you these now that they don't know what to ask. So I'm just basically saying like, these are the things that they should be asking. So I'm really hoping now that, you know, with the new idea and the perspective, that they are trying to really shift it in a way with how to keep people playing our game. But that's the thing, it's like, this should be like when the game first came out, you should be thinking like that, right? Like when I'm making a game before the product is released, I should be thinking about all of these things rather than thinking about it after the game's released. That's the problem that I have, and I hope that in the next game that it comes out, they fix that issue, because I don't want that to be a common issue in fighting games, where the product is amazing 5 years later. You know, like, whew, makes me sad. And this is the thing I'm also concerned about too, is because what is the definition of their difficult? They are talking about difficulty in making it, not the players, like in difficult to satisfy everyone. Well, let's talk about it. So we could go back down. We could go back here. We thought that we may disappoint some longtime fans, but this title, we wanted to challenge ourselves with something new. We kept this in mind during the development, marketing, and training. This thought continues with us today. So they definitely made it where they said, we're just gonna F the longtime players. We're going to now do this idea. It's hard to say that the difficulty in making it not the players. You know what I mean? Like, they definitely had an intention. Think about this. A new player wants to have a chance to win despite them being new. The veteran player wouldn't want new players to have a chance to beat them because they accumulated more skills. They are directly opposed to each other. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So it's very hard to try to blend in something like that, which is what Capcom is doing with Street Fighter 6. You could press 2 buttons and do all these like crazy shit. It's like a button mash mode, and it's literally on versus mode. They added like all of these like cool mechanics, which is nice. And they made it where it's like, cool, you want to do this? Well, you can do this like in local and things like that. And like, that's cool. I think that's a cool way of doing it. But I think when you like ignore like a certain aspect of what makes fighting games great, it becomes a very big issue, which everybody has been really voicing their opinion about, you know? So it's like, I really hope that, you know, even with that they learn from this. I hope this is a good learning lesson. Like, I'm glad this is a great game that sold, and I'm glad that a lot of people got into it. But now I'm hoping now that the next game that they learn from this, that this is not the best direction. I'm not gonna say it's bad because it got them money. But I'm gonna say long term it's not the best, because now you can't even rest for a little bit. A lot of people who've been playing their game for a long time definitely had a difference of it, which is fine. But then they was like, you know, we're just gonna try to promote like, you know, the newer players. And my logic of what newer players are is everyone overseas. Everyone overseas was like, yo, we loved it. And I think that's what made them keep going. But I think a lot of people, can agree that at the beta moment when we finally got the rollback, it was great. However, another aim we had was to avoid making a game that was not fun unless you practice. So that's the thing, is what does that mean? I feel like they kind of like, I actually don't understand that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but how is it possible to make a game where you put in the time and effort, but the game is not fun unless you practice? A lot of people miss that sometimes practice is fun. I think practice should be fun. You know what I'm saying? I think practice should be fun. Like, for example, like, let's use like Under Night, for example. Under Night has like a nice tutorial mode where it actually talks about like, this is how you do an option select, or this is how you do this, you can try this now. Or like even in Street Fighter 6, if you tried the beta, they ask you, they say, hey, if you have a hard time anti-airing, here's the easiest way to like practice anti-airing. And I think a lot of people, like companies are starting to think that like that isn't supposed to be fun. And it's just like, it kind of counters itself, you know? So it's interesting that was their intention. That entire answer was definitely like cap. And I didn't want to say it, but I was just like, that's crazy. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm surprised that like that was their direction. Is like, it kind of set a bar already. And and after that, it doesn't really matter. The craziest part is what is designed for a new player. If you're designing a game all around where they could do this, they could be rewarded without having to practice hard. That here's the thing that a lot of these developers it's not making sense. I'm just gonna say it's not making sense. Is that most of these things that is considered hard nowadays is something that a lot of people didn't have a lot of information, right? The information in terms of like knowing and not knowing has been like a big issue. Now these things that are considered hard are not as hard as people thought it was going to be. But once they kind of have a nice understanding of it, then it didn't become hard anymore. Because now you have a dash macro and things like that. So even a person who is like new can do the same thing that somebody else who put a little time. So that's what I'm saying. And then a new player can eventually be like, I want to get good. There's so many variations of it. If you practice guitar 20 minutes a day and you do 4 hours a day, why should I expect to be as good as you? Yeah, exactly. I'm just so confused. You know, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't even know how to give you an example. It seems you consider this from a pro level perspective. Try taking an approach from a perspective of a simple Joe who works 9 to 5 and really have no time to put into a game. A harder game like XX will be an instant turnoff, etc. I understand that, and I'm not looking at it from a pro's perspective. I'm actually looking at it from a broader perspective, from not only me. I'm trying to look at it from everything else. And just to be honest, I don't think a game should be as hard as XX, but I'm saying that the way that they have designed it is not the best outcome. long term. Because now that the game is as way it is now the people who are playing the game are now stuck with this, when they should be designing the game for everyone in mind and then release. So if you decide to leave, the foundation is still healthy. If the players not really like, you know, they like run into a plateau, they have another place to like build themselves higher to. I'm just saying, like, there should be a lot of aspects for everybody, not just one, which is crazy to me because Street Fighter 6 hit it in the nail. That game is definitely super casual friendly, and that game is super definitely time consuming friendly. So if you want to put in the time to do this, you can. If you don't, then you can just hit buttons and it's cool. And you got other content to do so. So it's like, it hits all of the nails. I'm not even just talking from a pro, I'm just talking for a quality of life. So that's what I'm just saying. It's definitely, like, a lot of people are missing the point that, like, they said that they want to design it specifically for this, and they said it's hard to make everyone happy, but a game literally made everyone happy. It's out there. So that's what I'm saying, like, that logic is not true. I don't believe in it, because a game already countered everything they're saying. Street Fighter 6 literally is the epitome of that. I'm hoping to God when the game released that open world mode when you create your character is actually insane. I'm hoping that it's actually ridiculous. Sorry, you my boy, but, like, you know, that was kind of cap. We're gonna teach you what cap means in Japan, bro. When I go out there, I'm about to get everybody in the Arcsys office saying cap. You definitely have a strong point. However, I suspect Arcsys might have a designer challenge because they have to build off a foundation off an extremely hard game, making it more approachable by broader artists, but maybe they could have done it better. But from my experience, Drive, it really delivers when it's both easy for newer players and yet has depth for veterans. Maybe that's a personal preference, but feels so in my environment. That is okay. That is okay. No, that is completely okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That, because again, we're from two sides of the coin, which is totally okay. There's nothing wrong with my coin. There's nothing on my side of the coin. Nothing wrong with your side of the coin. Nothing. Zero problems whatsoever. If anything, we are both right in our regard. But I'm just letting you know that as a veteran player, you know, there are some things that I wish developers wouldn't do. And one of the things that I wish they wouldn't do was dismiss one aspect of their community. And that's what I mean. That's what I literally don't think none of us is wrong. I was hurt because they disregarded me. That's what I'm hurt about. Not hurt that they made the game for beginners. That's a different. I'm hurt because they bluntly dismissed it. Veteran players, not even just me, but people who's been like like some of my favorite rivals no longer play the game anymore. That's what makes me sad. From that regard, I am hurt because it's like, damn, you guys definitely remove like half of the people who's super amazing, and they're not even as active as much anymore, which hurts. But their goal was to get new players from the get-go, so it's like, it's what it is. You know what I mean? I personally feel like we should reward the strong players and hardworking players. However, if that's all we focus on, it will lead to problems. So we're aiming to find a proper balance. What problems is it going to lead to when the game is already it's already a basic balance? You get what I'm saying? So what is there to be concerned about? Well, yeah, I don't think anybody. I think a lot of people, when they talk about strive, it's always when they are trying to improve, when the game has issues. I think no one talks about the game really as much outside of the ranking system and the lobby and stuff. But when it comes to improving, the game has always been like in a hard state. EVO 2022, there was not a single Japanese player in top 8, which is very unusual in the Guilty Gear title. Gee, I wonder why. Please share your thoughts on this tournament. First thing, setting the results aside, the players in the tournament were a lot younger than before. Yep, this is not specific to EVO, but for tournaments in Japan as well. I think that one reason the entire top 8 was overseas players and not many Japanese players participated in the tournament. Oh, there was some killers in Japan. They just got smoked. And they didn't want to come out. Furthermore, there was no early access to arcade release, and the overseas player are now able to practice in a good online environment thanks to Rollback Netcode. Hey, this is true. Rollback Netcode definitely plays a huge part. Another reason that GGST game is designed to reward people to put in time in this game, not old games. The results is proof of that. So basically, if you've never played an old Guilty Gear game before, there was nothing for you to worry about. If you did play an old GG game before, then you were because you thought that you was actually about to air throw somebody. Oh, you thought you was gonna set play me? Nah, bro. You knocked me down. It's my turn. I think the rollback netcode definitely plays a huge part. However, a lot of people say no early access to arcade release. So that was the biggest reason? I necessarily don't fully think so. And the only reason why I say that is because Street Fighter V, the game literally came out and literally for like 5 tournaments in a row, it was literally the 2 same people basically in grand finals or in top 3. So I don't think that's necessarily the reason why, but I would say more of like the online environment and various things. But I would say the big thing is literally the online environment, and that was and they were consistent even with the 8 frames of lag, which was crazy. I don't know how they were doing that. People was woke. This is something that was ever heard of in Guilty Gear series now, and it was very moving. Well, yeah, as you said, the game was a basic game, so it's easy to jump into. So these 10s and 20s, first of all, who's 11-year-old right now out here nagoing me? Who is that? Dude, that's what I'm trying to, you? That's crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like, they celebrated that. Like, yo, this 9-year-old beat all of these players. That's exciting. That's moving. And I'm just like, damn, that's mad rude. I'm like, bro, mad disrespectful. Whatever it is, I'm always happy that the companies are happy, right? I'm happy that they're happy and things like that. You know, I'm really excited. But the game don't have to be hard to be fun. But the game should at least have some aspect where if you train, you take yourself to a next level instead of training to just stay at the level that you're in. I'm not trying to disrespect our veteran players in any way, but you did. But as a developer, I am very happy to see new players performing well in our game. If young players are doing well, this gives motivation to new players to improve. I hope this leads to a positive cycle. Well, it does. If a 12-year-old wakes up and just start beating the hell out of Omido, and Omido looking like some casual fruit, I'm sure them other 13-year-olds will be like, yo, these top players ain't shit. I could be this top player. It sounds very, very familiar lately, if you guys been on Twitter lately. But it's been like a very, very interesting artist that's been coming around running their money against one of our players. And now they think our players ain't shit and that anybody can do it. So it's a double-edged sword. It's a good marketing strategy, but it's also very disrespectful. When you become a certain age, you should build a foundation for the newer generation. You want the next generation to be better than the older generation, right? Well, you don't lie to the younger generation. That's like the biggest thing. But the problem is, the reason why they're so mean towards them is because they're doing well. They're, you know, when you're doing well, you think you're the hottest in the world. That's one of the things that younger players always happen. Even when I was young and ignorant, I thought I was the hottest in America till you got humbled. For me, I'm just thinking that, like, yeah, you kind of already disrespect, but it is what it is. Back in the old days of arcade, there were a variety of different events. It'll be interesting. There was new versus old group held now. I don't think a lot of the old groups are really going to be motivated to do it, to be honest with you, because if they so, you will be seeing them a lot of exhibitions, but you don't see them as much, which, you know, I think they just moved on. So for season 2, we want to focus on balancing what we have to prepare for the future. So basically what I'm hearing is that they are going to make a balance. They're going to give us a winter balance, and after that, the whole idea and all focus is going to be for the next season. So I think the winter balance, once we get that, we're going to have to wait until June or after EVO. Actually, I think it's going to be after EVO. I think we're just going to have to wait till after EVO. Our goal with season 2 is to make the gameplay experience smoother for the players who have already played the game. Not only this is Guilty Gear first time selling 1 million copies, but also the first time Arcsys game has achieved this milestone. In order for more people to enjoy this title in the future, we have no plans to finish the game with season 2. Of course, we need to consider the balance between the development cost and sales number, but we are planning for that fine-tuned and prepared for the future with season 2. So they're using season 2 as a catalyst for whatever the next season is going to be. I think after that, we're going to get characters, winter balance, and I think that's it. And I think that's going to be the thing. So a lot of people are expecting like some big things. I think what they're going to do is just polished versions of what the mechanics we have now. So maybe they're going to add more stuff, more Gatling options, whatever. But that's basically it. Unfortunate. And I only say unfortunate is because, you know, we don't know when season 3 is going to come. And you can tell that they might not even have a lot of time anytime soon because they're so focused on making it playable for everybody. So I'm hoping that the Game Pass builds more people, and yeah, with the crossplay, I hope it's really good. That's pretty much it. Let me know how you guys feel, man. You know, let me know how you guys feel. Are you guys satisfied with what they're providing? I'll catch you guys on the flip side, though. Good talking to you guys.